Kia ora, I'm whanana Efeso Collins and welcome to my podcast, Fes and Friends. As you know, I'm running to be Mayor of Auckland, but this podcast is my chance to turn the microphone onto my friends, my family, and those supporting this movement for a just and sustainable city. So sit back and settle in as we do this for the people. Well, kia ora, Josephine. It's good to see you again. It feels like it's been ages, since we've caught up with one another, other than the Zoom meetings that we've been on. I've got a little intro that I'll start with, and then we'll get underway with some questions. But welcome, and thanks for doing this podcast for us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Josephine's a good friend of mine and one of the fellow councillors that I get to work alongside on the governing body. Josephine was elected to the Maungakiekie-Tamaki Local Board in 2010 and was made the chair of the local board from 2016. In February 2018, she was elected as the councillor following the resignation of the sitting councillor Denise Lee at the time, becoming the first Pacific woman to become an Auckland councillor. Oh, that's cool. That's right. I remember now too.
That's right.
Josephine was also a constant presence during the vaccine rollout last year, attending countless events alongside myself and our other colleague Harry Toleafoa, ensuring Auckland's vaccination rate got to over 90%. But sadly, this led to Josephine receiving a substantial number of threats of violence because of her involvement. But before we discuss all of that, let's start with her background. So thanks again for joining us. I hope that gives our listeners on the podcast a bit of a background of yourself. But we'll start by asking you why you got into politics in the first place.
Power. That's why I got involved. I noticed that in my community where I stay there's about 50% Pacific in GI Pamua Point, England, and that wasn't reflected in the decision makers for our area. So that was one motivation, was to get involved that way. And also because that is the ultimate way to influence change, is to be the decision maker. So, power for good.
You've always been an advocate of sorts, because I know that you used to work at the consumer something place.
Yes.
Hey, and so advocacy or kind of social justice has always been something that you've been passionate about?
I was just going to answer in French. French. Oui, je suis un avocat. No. So when I took French, that was something that we learned, like what you wanted to be. And so I was just saying I am a lawyer.
Yep.
Wanted to be a lawyer. So advocacy, something I've been involved in for a long time. Yep. That's why I studied law, became a lawyer, then went into consumer affairs.
That's it. Yep.
Helping people that have been ripped off by loan sharks, car dealers.
Yeah. Do you think you still see a bit of that today? Like, I know you're a councillor, but you see a bit of that attitude that persists today and people being unfairly treated?
Yeah. I think that's the fuel that keeps us going. We see that unfairness, the inequity, and that really motivates us. A lot of us sitting around that table, especially yourself.
Yeah. Have you enjoyed being in local government? You started out with the local board. What was your experience like there?
Local board, you're dealing with local issues, local people every day. And, you get involved in their little spats that they have going on. Like, you can't help but get involved. At our level, it's different. You're not as local. You're not, the spats you're involved in are way more serious. Well, not that local board wasn't serious, but it's different. Do I enjoy it? Well, God, that's a hard question, eh?
Did you enjoy local board? Because I'll come to governing body in just a minute, but were there things that you felt you could do at local board that gave you a sense of connection to the community?
Yeah. Especially when you drive, but soon I will bike around the community, and you see things that you had a hand in. Like Te Oro, Taumanu Reserve. That's all things I sat in meetings for hours on, and to see it, it's awesome. Local board is awesome.
For the sake of our listeners, Te Oro, can you give us a bit of a background, just so that people who aren't from the local area have a bit of an understanding as to what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Te Oro means reverberation. It's a name gifted from Ngāti Pawa for the Music and Arts Centre that's in Glen Innes. So there's a big structure that looks like a spaceship in Glen Innes, and it's a beacon of aspiration and hope for our young people. That is what Te Oro is.
Yeah. And have you felt that projects like that make a difference for young people? Are they connectors for the community as well?
I think you can have something like that, but you need more to make it even more connected to your communities. When that went up, people saw it and they thought, oh, flash building must be for the new people moving into the area, not for us. So there's still some work to socialise it with our communities that, yes, this is yours, it's fancy, it's flash, but it's for you. Yeah.
You've brought a friend in. Sorry, I thought it might be good for those people who are watching the podcast. Could you introduce your friend to us?
So I was looking after Milo for a few months while his owners were overseas. And then I kept posting about him and the owners were like, man, you two are like peas in a pod. Would you consider keeping him? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
So he goes with me pretty much everywhere. But today he's wearing stars. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
And the stars symbolise, because today is Women's Suffrage Day, and the stars were the stars of the United States flag that they used to symbolise the states that started giving women the vote. Oh, right. So that's why he's wearing his stars today.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm glad that Milo could come with you. We might see if Milo's got any comments towards the end of the interview as well. You've been on council now for 1 and a bit term, so 2 terms, kind of, and you're now seeking you're going through your 3rd election. What's the driver to going for another election?
Yeah, that's a good question, because you definitely don't do this job you don't do it for the money, that's for sure, because a lot of us were getting paid way more in our other jobs before we started at council. You definitely, I think for me, like, it's very corny, but you do it because you love your community. I love my community. If I lose, I want to lose to someone who will look after it as much as I do. So I do it for that. I do it for, of course, for the decisions we get to make and the impact that has on people's daily lives. And then you bring that reality check to the decisions we make.
Yeah. When you say the community is awesome, are there people, are there projects, are there things that kind of stick out at the top of your mind when you're beating the street to go door knocking and it's cold and windy and raining and you're getting your hair, out of curl? Are there stories or experiences from having worked as the local councillor that keep you motivated? Like, what are some of the things that you think, man, I've got to keep going?
Yeah, a lot of people are invested in you.
Yeah.
And they really need you to be their voice. And they tell you that. Like, a lot of people tell me that. Today I almost crashed my car because this woman ran up to me holding the votes.
Yeah.
She just filled them in and she came running up. She goes, I'm so excited. We're voting for you. We're voting for you. Oh. I was like, thank you, but use the pedestrian crossing. Yeah. But they see you and they're grateful for what you do. And they keep pushing you. Yeah. Because if it's not you, who's going to speak for them?
Yeah. Looking back on the COVID experience, I remember when you went through some really challenging times, with threats. They were really confrontational with you as well. You still want to be in public office given those experiences? Yeah. It hasn't scared me off yet. Even though things are starting to heat up now, on Facebook, there's so much anger and hate because people want a villain and you're out there, your face is on the billboard and they're targeting, they throw it at you. But I still want to do it. I still feel like I've got the skills that I'm offering to the community to make sure that the decisions we make will benefit everyone. Yeah. And, shaping the future for our young ones that are coming through. Yeah. Are you enjoying the door knocking? Are you enjoying getting out and meeting people again? Because, and there's one part of the role that means you're in meetings a lot, but you've got a real community-facing role or function to the role. Is that do you have a part that you enjoy more? I like Fridays because Fridays we can be out in the constituency, out with our communities,
that kind of refills my cup so that I can sit through the 11, 12-hour meetings in town hall. So I enjoy being out in the community. That's what keeps me refocused.
Yeah. You've held the role of Deputy Chair for Planning as well.
Yes.
And how has that been? Because that's quite a senior role, if you look at the structure of council. How's that been for you?
It's been I learned a lot because I don't have a planning background. My brother is a property developer, but we never talk about council stuff. I work with Councillor Chris Darby. So that's also a learning curve because he's very, what's the word, pie in the sky? Like he's very strong with his ideals, whereas I don't have that. I'm more like the on-the-ground experience of what we're seeing with all our development. So, I'm learning a lot about our city and how it's being shaped.
I know that we've talked a bit this term about some of the people in your community that have been through some challenges themselves. There have been a lot of homeless people or people sleeping rough or in their cars. What's the process that you go through in supporting, whether it's an individual or those families? Can you tell our listeners what some of the experiences are like and then how you support them?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. Like I see our role as councillors as looking after your community. That's how I see it. It's very broad. And to me, when people see you on the billboard, they don't care what your title is. They just know you're someone who can help them. So that's why I deal with whatever comes through. And I started posting about some of the rough sleepers that I was helping. And a lot of the time, it's just getting through the bureaucracy. There's like one man, he was in a van. I always remember this man because he was really mean to me because he thought I was trying to get his vote because I turned up in my car with my, face and the Labour thing on it. And so he was like, oh, you're just trying to get votes. I was like, bro, it's not even election year. I'm not here to get votes. I'm here because people have been telling me that a lot of people are sleeping here in the car park outside Countdown. And I want to know what I can do to help. And he had been in and out of hospital, so he wasn't able to meet his WINS appointments. And so, all that bureaucracy, and he was living in his car. So I posted an angry video on Friday night. Monday, WINS is calling him and got him into a 2-bedroom flat. Yeah, and he was like, I know it was you that made this happen, and I just want to thank you so much. And now all I need is I'm sitting in my garden, and I just need a girlfriend. And I was like, well, I can help you, get a house, but I can't help you get a girlfriend because I've been single for so long. So, yeah.
You have a good working relationship with your local police as well, I remember. And I know they might be supporting you afterwards and helping you get your car to your car. But how has that been useful, being well connected with the police? And not connected in a way like you're getting favours, but connected as in a good, constructive working relationship?
Yeah, it's been awesome because, the ones that deal with, when there's no one else to help someone, it's the police, and they deal with everything. Yeah. And they deal with, our mental health community that's, out there on their own late at night. So they see the gaps in society, and I really respect them for that. Plus, my brother is a police officer, so I have that natural instinct to work with them and make sure they're okay, because I never want to hear, anything happen. To like my brother, but so I work very closely with them. I also set up the community patrols in my area. We're going through a pause right now, but we're going to restart again. So I have a very close working relationship with them, and they come across a lot of issues, and they just need someone to get through the council bureaucracy as well. So that's what I do. It's a good relationship.
Turning our attention to the election a little bit now, today's suffrage day, and I know you were speaking in town. Can you maybe give us a bit of a background or a condensed version of your speech as to why it's important for people to vote?
Yeah, I spoke today and I acknowledged that, it was our Norfolk Islands women, Pitcairn Islands, that were one of the first to vote. But also acknowledging, our 129 years of suffrage here. It's important to vote. These women, one of the women, her name is Susan Anthony, and this was 1872, and she took her dog. She had a little dog like this dude, and she took him everywhere, and she was massive in the movement for women, for slavery, in slavery. And then what she said was, we need to be the lawmakers, and we need to be in those decision-making roles. And we're still saying the same thing now. But we're not going to be taken seriously unless we are given the right to vote. So that was back then. So she saw the right to vote as the clicker, or the game changer for women's rights. So it's important to vote because these people fought for us to get this power, but she saw the power in it. And, people just don't realize the power that this little vote has for them. Yeah. So they have to vote. Yeah.
Do you get the sense as you're now in that election phase that people are ready to vote, that they've considered the issues, they know who's standing? We're 2 weeks away, or 2 and a bit weeks away from a result. You feel people are kind of ready? They're in that space now about thinking about elections?
Yeah, I think people just been waiting for those envelopes. Now they're in there. They're like, okay, what are these things? Yeah. Yeah, and you're like, yeah, you got to vote. And they're like, oh, okay. We spoke at church on Sunday. Everybody's ready to vote. Good. A lot of people are like really excited that we could get our first Pacific mayor. Yeah. That's a big motivator to get people to vote this time round. Yeah. And I don't know, they just seem ready. Ready to vote. And people are messaging me screenshots of their voting paper. So they're voting already.
Yeah, I'm getting a few of those as well. So, oh, thank you.
I had a National Party stalwart show me her voting paper where she voted for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you very much.
She didn't give me her councillor vote, but all good. I was like, oh, yeah, as long as you voted for Efeso, it's good.
When you think about the leadership of the city and the future of the city, what are some of the things that you're thinking about? Because you and I have been around council for a little while now. I think I'm only a year or two longer. But are you confident that we've got the leadership capability and personnel, as in people standing, that's going to take the city forward?
I'm confident in some of the people standing that we're going to take the city forward, but not in some of the others. I think if these others get in, my gosh, we're just going to go right back to the 1950s. It's really crucial right now. Like this next term, it could be the councillors that keep taking Auckland forward, especially if you're the mayor, or else it's going to be the councillors that are just collecting paychecks and keeping Auckland stagnant and behind. Yeah.
So to that point, what are the kinds of values or hopes that you're thinking about so that we can move forward, as opposed to holding Auckland in a place that isn't going to allow for growth and development?
I'm hoping values, the collective. So much we only really hear from the people who have done well, and they're trying to protect what they have. And so any change you try to bring about that will benefit everyone is always, there's always pushback. So I'd love it if people thought about others and not just their own picket fence. So that would be so good to see come through in the new term. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I've always dreamed of being a rugby commentator, but I never got that job. And so this is as close as I get as talking to people in the podcast. But so the thing is, I always like to give people the final word before we do a wrap up. And so I was just wondering if there's anything you're thinking. See, we are 15 minutes is flowing past.
I know.
Yeah, that was cool.
I hope I'm better than Harry's one.
Yeah, way better.
I watched a little bit and then I turned off.
He's only got about 2 views, I think. So this will have millions, and that's why we got you in free, because you're going to help my profile too. But
that's why I got the dog.
Yeah, I know. Actually,
he gets 7,000 views on his videos.
That's what I was going to ask. Is the dog getting more attention than the councillor at the moment?
And people are inviting the dog to things, and I have to go because he needs a driver.
Oh, you're a bit second fiddle now,
I know. We went to the autism social.
Yeah.
They invited Milo.
Wow.
So he was dressed up. See, because, I like to dress up.
Yeah.
But no, he was the one that was dressed up.
Yeah.
I was in the background.
Yeah. Actually, with Milo, does it mean that you're out, when you're out walking dogs, you've got new types of conversations happening, because you'll meet with people who are walking their dogs too and love animals, and maybe kids stop and want to pat Milo on the head?
Oh my gosh, everybody stops. We did the Ellerslie fairy festival. I was dressed as the fairy, so was he.
Yeah.
Everybody stopped for the dog.
Wow.
And then they looked up at me and they were like, you look familiar. I'm like, yeah, I'm your councillor. And it went from there. Just amazing.
Wow. It kind of feels like Milo's getting the final word now, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But just on that, you're into an election yourself. You're fighting for your seat again. Well, fighting as in you're standing again. Have you got what's your kind of final thought at the moment when you're thinking about the election and even about kind of, women voting and advocacy for the community? I know it's hard to wrap that all up into a segment, but what's your thinking at the moment as you head into these final couple of weeks for the election and your own desire to continue to serve the community?
I hope people will see past all the talk and look at action and look at heart and what people, have done, their track records and what they hope to do for the benefit of others. And that's what I'm relying on. If people don't want that in a councillor, then so be it. But that's what I'm offering, I'm not getting any younger. So I want to offer the next 3 years to serve my communities. You can only do the best that you can, eh?
Yeah.
Can't please everyone. So, And also, I want to acknowledge you. Thank you. So brave to do what you're doing. And I just really respect what you're doing. And I can't wait for you to be our mayor. And I really thank you for your help during the vaccinations when I was getting abused and attacked. And I rang you for media, how do I deal with the media on this? And then you were the one that clicked on about my safety and got me Alamu Security and Council involved. So I really do appreciate it.
Well, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. And thanks for coming in. And thank you, Milo, too, for coming in. I've tried to give you the chance to have the mic because I know Milo's really popular at the moment. So at least you got 15 minutes of fame. But by having Milo in the shot, that might lift your number of views so you can double what Harry got. But it's just a reminder to all those of you who are listening to our podcast at the moment. We do this all the time. You'll know that we're running Efeso for Mayor. And it's been a real pleasure talking with Josephine Bartley, who's currently the councillor for Maungakiekie-Tamaki, a friend of mine and someone I truly endorse, who I know has worked hard for the community, really passionate. And even in this interview, I've enjoyed the way you've talked about others and thinking of others and sharing and looking at Auckland for the benefit of all, not just for themselves. So I want to wish you all the best as well. I'm really confident that you'll be re-elected, but that just means we've got to stay out there and make sure that we're meeting people. If you'd like to donate or to volunteer to our campaign, you can go to www.efeso.nz. And can I just again thank you, Josephine Bartley, for your time this afternoon. And I've really enjoyed talking with you and, of course, having the star of the show, Milo, join us too. Thank you very much.